Good morning. What should I say? Talofa. Talofa. Like you say the people last week. Aloha. No, it's talofa. Talofa, good morning to everyone. We gotta get things going. It's almost 10. So I'd like to good morning to everybody and thanks for coming out. Fight for the one for the line and the labor. Mikael. Jadi sekolah yang mau buat pengalaman saya bersyukur Mikael kuat ini kaya ini besok Mikael yang dua dan dia lalu dia masuk ke bayi Fayero bukan boleh filman presiden balik masuk sampai sini dia pacar apa yang baik lepas berbayi apa yang dia wah Tamarole, foi como ia, alole la demanda, foi como eu. E a fia o pouco ele ia so cargo. Você não foi o que tocava. Marole foi como se vai foi com para se cargo, a fa foi fa com ele ele ia so. E a cá com ia no como lá ali. Ua. Something that you will see lá com cara. Welcome to, I'd like to say welcome to, and good morning to each and every one of us. Thank you for taking the time out to come out and start up this Samoan Culture class of 2024. I'm going to turn the microphone over to the president of the Samoa Culture San Diego. He's going to go over some of the stuff that goes on in the class this morning, and also the mission of the Samoa Association of San Diego. The president of the Samoa Association of San Diego, Mr. Fadi Thomas Alalima.
Can we have speakers go in the front, please, because of the camera?
Just like every Samoan thing that we always do, we always want to start with a prayer. So I'm going to give that honor to one of our elder brothers here that always takes care of us when it comes to this as we ask him to do this talk for us. So let's get started with the prayer.
Let's pray. Patai tua mata tama, lewa panai tama te muvia ni taia, mata sa fo ile la mata muvia o e fai mo mata. Patai mata tua o e fai mo mata, ilo rofa mo mata muvia, o mafu ai ni taia mo fai mo e, o mata wala tama, e anoa o e fai fo ni fai mo e. Mato talo e o pangueiro fa no olhaço dele o nai fa na o uso no to fa fino mato fa ma ko le fa mato talo da o fio fa o ite mato me e mo se ali le yasto fa no moyo tonato fa na tuina fa to toina ia le mato ko no al messo so mato con pelo sa mo nai fa na o ata ya via mo na lea o tana tane to tama o ma to bala ia para te rina ia to ma fa ta talo ra to na ia mo se ta o de yes. Father in heaven, Lord of mercy, we thank you, we come before you to give you thanks and praise you and glorify your name for your love and for your kindness. Thank you for waking us up this morning and bringing us here safe. We ask you, Lord, we are there to learn about our Samoan tradition, expose and to extend. We ask you, Lord, without you, we ask you to be with us, make us understand our language. We ask you, Father, to be with us, be upon us, be above us, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you. This is our Vice
president of the association, so I want to welcome every one of you, each and every one of you, to our class. It's a first of 8. So there's going to be a lot that we're going to try to cover. The Samoan culture, you know, if you don't know, is deep. So the chances that we're gonna cover a lot, but we're not going to get as deep as maybe you think that you want to get. However, you're going to learn a lot about all kinds of aspects of our culture. So our first our slide over here tells us what our agenda is for the classes. So you can see we have 8 classes, and really the last class is more like a party. So really we only have 7 classes. So, but they're going to be on Saturdays. I think you guys should already have the schedule. If you signed up online, you'll see what the schedule is. We did have to change on next week because our speaker is dealing with his duties as a Paitehau or as a reverend. So he will not be hosting the class. However, we were blessed by meeting somebody that, although not Samoan, is skilled in the arts of navigation. So this is something I think that we would all like to learn a little bit about, navigating in the traditional way, so that which makes us different from the rest of the world, the skills and traditions that are involved. So we're looking forward to having them. Week 3, we're gonna cook. So this is always good. Samoan food. If you don't know about Samoan food, we're gonna learn a little bit about Samoan food and how to cook. What the whakapalaʻi are, and we'll have our speakers there that can tell us all about whakapalaʻi. You know, for Samoans growing up in America, this is a difficult thing to comprehend, and it's important that we learn about the whakapalaʻi, the different whakapalaʻi that happen in our culture. On week 5, we have a very special guest that's going to be teaching us about the siapo. She was raised in Samoa and learned about the siapo making from one of the true craftspeople back in the day. So she's going to be here teaching us about siapo. We're going to learn about the awa ceremony, how to do the awa ceremony, all facets of the awa ceremony, and following that with the lauma. Now, we're not expecting you to learn how to do a lauma or to do speeches, but you will learn the different parts of the lauma and what it's all about. And then, of course, on the last week, we're looking forward to having a party. So this is basically what we intend to have happen. Always, we want to do this with humility and with truth. So we're going to convey to you the best information that we have. If it's not exactly correct in the letter, a little bit of grace we would ask. And we can always get in depth on a particular subject during the class or even after the class. So feel free to communicate with each and every one of us. And it's going to be more of an open forum, kind of a conversation, more like a conversation with regard to the classes. Okay? So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to introduce to you our speaker for this, our instructor for this first portion of the class, which is Namala'ulu Albert Ainuu. So Albert Ainuu is one of our board directors. He's a member of the board of directors. He's been involved with Samoa for his whole life. And as well as here, he's been involved with a lot of media lately. So one of the things that he got involved with way back in the day, or not so long ago, actually helped to change and affect government back home in Samoa. So the power of media is very powerful, and we'll hope to learn a little bit about that.
Talofa.
Aloha.
So, there's a saying in Samoa that says, which means a plant that comes together is like the tree of life. And today is the result of a lot of planning, a lot of work. As you can see, we're still working. A lot of efforts from different pieces of our organization so that we can present something that I don't think has been done here in San Diego maybe in the past, but this is something that we felt was very important for our youth and for all of us who have lived here in America, but we have sort of drifted away from our culture. We don't understand what the Samoan culture is. And so this is why we have this class, and we're so honored to have all of you, especially the young people, join us, and especially everybody that's here. So the first slide, I'm showing you what is Samoa. Our ancestors were not limited by where they lived. See, this is something that a lot of people don't understand about the Samoan mentality. I've split it up into three pieces. We're analyze, appreciate, and conquer. As was stated by you, our ancestors were deep thinkers. There's a saying in Samoa, "Waloloto topa," or topa loto, means deep thoughts, deep thinking, because we don't just see what's in front of us, we see what's behind that. We see what's on the side of it. Why? When we were doing what we were doing back in the day, a lot of different races were afraid to sail beyond the horizon. Do you know what the horizon is? What is the horizon?
The end of the
Anybody
sun.
tell me what the horizon is?
The end of the sun.
When you look out on the ocean and you see that line going across the end of the ocean, what is that? That's the horizon, right? People were scared to go past that line. Why? Because they were afraid of what was something that they didn't see. They were scared of what was not known. Our people, our ancestors, were not scared of that line. We went past that line. That's the reason why Samoa, if you go into the South Pacific or in the whole Pacific, the same race of people inhabit every island in that particular region. Why? Because they were not afraid to sail. Even though they didn't know what was in front of them, they went because they were able to analyze. They were able to look at the ocean. They had a name for every wave. Every wave that hit the boat, they could tell. That wave told them something, that there was land somewhere else, but that wave hit the land and returned. So they could tell where they were on the ocean. They didn't need a GPS. They didn't need any of the modern technology. They could look at the stars. They could tell at night where they were. They could look by the clouds. They could look by seeing what type of birds were flying. And that's how they knew where they were. Even though they're in the middle of this ocean where there's only water surrounding you, but they knew where they were going. A lot of people, a lot of races, different countries, they never did that because they were scared. They didn't know how to get around. Once they got past, they couldn't see the shore. You know, they were scared. So this is what a Samoan is. You're not afraid of what you don't know. Don't be scared. Appreciate it. Now, the appreciation part is very important. There's a Samoan saying, in the sports of, back in the day when they did different sports, they had a sport where they would
catch birds, and they used certain things they were on the boats trying to catch these birds, throw out whatever they used, and sometimes you focus so much on the bird that you miss something. What are you missing? What's a naru? Naru was a wave, right? So you're so focused on catching the bird, you're not aware that there's waves coming sometimes, and I'll tell you this from personal experience, some waves, they look low, but when they get close to you, they pop up. And you don't know how powerful those waves are. So you gotta always be aware. Appreciate your surroundings. Don't just focus on one thing. That's why we have this deep thoughts. Being a deep thinker means you don't just see somebody and you say, oh, he's dressed a certain way or she acts a certain way, and we judge them. No, because you don't know what their whole story is. So be very, very aware of how to look at things. You look at things, be careful before you make a judgment. Because that person might have a lot of, they might not dress the way you think they, dress, and they might not drive a nice car, but that person's got a lot of stuff up here. So all of us need to be aware how to analyze things, because if you know how to analyze something quickly and accurately, you're going to make good decisions. Everything in this life is about making good decisions. And so if you don't make a good decision, you're going to go down the wrong path. The other attitude in being a Samoan state of mind is Sa'ili Maro. This is sort of the guiding principle that all of our people have. We're always trying to conquer. That's why we're so competitive. to a fault sometimes. But it is a state of mind that we have where we're always trying to Sa'ili Maro. Maro is two words, that word can be interpreted in a number of different ways. One, government. You're always trying to become the controlling person in the government. Or two, trying to win. Maro means win. So we're always looking for success. And that's our attitude. You as a Samoan, you're always trying to come up. Now, what's the evidence of this? How many Samoans are there in the world today? Do you know how many? More than 1 million? No.
500,000.
Maybe half. Maybe 500,000 Samoans. How many people are in the world today? 8 billion. 8 billion, there's only about 500,000 Samoans. How many Samoan names are up there in the world today? Entertainment. Sports. Okay? This is our attitude. We don't take second place. We always go for the top. That's the way we work. So you as a Samoan have to understand this. So we're going to go into some physical descriptions of where Samoa is. And so let's go through the next couple of, where is Samoa? Does anybody know where Samoa is? How many people here have been to Samoa? Or maybe better question, how many have not been to Samoa? Okay, so let's find out where Samoa is. So this is the world map. This is the Pacific Ocean, okay? See how big the rest of the world is? We're right in the middle here somewhere. So, it's in the Pacific Ocean, there's 3 major groups that are under, there's Polynesia, Melanesia, and there's Micronesia. We are Polynesia. We're in the Polynesian Triangle. It starts from New Zealand, goes up to Hawaii, goes over to Easter Island. Everything in the middle here is what we're all the same race. We all speak very similar dialects of the same language. If you go down to New Zealand, they count Tahilua Tolufa. Go to Samoa, Tasilua Tolufa. Go to Tonga, Tahalua Tolufa. You know, everybody speaks the same language. And it really surprised all the white explorers when they came through this area. They were like, how come every single island has the same language? These people do the same, they have the same culture. And guess Samoa is right in here. That's Samoa. You know what they called Samoa when they first discovered Samoa? What the name of Samoa is? The white explorers called us Navigator's Island. We were the navigators. That's why they called us, because everywhere they went throughout the Pacific, they found Samoans. And they were like, okay, these guys, we were way better than them. I'm just going to tell you, as far as navigation, as far as exploration, we were the best. We went all the way to the Americas. How do you know that? That we came here before Columbus. You know why? They did a DNA study of the chickens here in the Americas. Guess where the chickens came from? They came from the Polynesian Islands. So they did the DNA study. All the chickens that are here are not from Europe. They're not from anywhere. They're from the Polynesian Islands. How did they get here? Because we're the navigators. And then in the Polynesian Islands, we have something called kumara, or the umala, or the sweet potato. Sweet potato is from the Americas. It doesn't grow naturally in the Pacific. So there had to be communication between the Americas and Polynesian Islands for these things to happen. So this is Samoa, right in the middle of this triangle. We call Samoa the cradle of the Pacific Island, the Polynesian. Now, there's a lot of controversy on that, but I think there's enough evidence that most of the people came from Samoa. The New Zealanders know that their initial explorers or discoverer was from Samoa. Hawaii, if you trace Kamehameha's line, he's from the Pili, from Samoa. They brought Pili up to Hawaii, and his descendants became Kamehameha. But Samoa is split between Western and Eastern Samoa. American Samoa, and now it's called Samoa. So American Samoa is the eastern side. It's got Tutuila, it's got the Vanua Islands, and then on the western side we have Savali and Bo, and then Apolima and Manoa are in the middle of these two islands. Okay, just a little bit about how Samoa is important in that Pacific region. So how did the Samoans get to Samoa? There's a lot of different theories. So I'm going to go with the scientific theory, and then we'll go with the traditional theories. So the first theory is that we came from Taiwan. They're saying that Taiwan was where all the Polynesians in Washington. It's the oldest skull that they think is found in the Americas. They did a DNA analysis, and they did everything. They say he's more Polynesian. What is that? What is that? It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway.
I forgot too.
But I'll get it later. But just to let you know, there is a lot of connections between us. So this is one of the tribes here in California. And they make their boats the same way that we in Samoa and the Polynesian Islands. We use, we strap all of our wood together. So that's a similar, they use the same technique. Okay. Now, traditionally, when that question was asked originally by the scholars that came to Samoa, they asked the older people, where do the Samoans come from? You know what the Samoans said? They said, we've always been here. We were here, we didn't come from anywhere. We've always been here. So that's the Samoan tradition. Samoan tradition is Tanaloa. The god Tanaloa looked down on the earth, on the planet, and he decided that he threw a rock down, and the rock was called Manua. So Manua was the first island that was set up by Tanaloa. And then after he was happy with that, and he threw down a couple more rocks, and he had Samoa and Polu, and the rest of the world. So this is sort of a traditional discussion or story of how our people arrived in Samoa. One is from the scientists. They say we came from different places. From our own people, we came from Samoa. We are, as some people say, children of the sun. We came straight from the sun down here. So I'm not saying one's wrong, one's right. I'm just saying that's what it's been told to us. And I'm very happy that we had this opportunity. So I'm going to turn the time over to Buddy. Oh, yes. Where do I think we came from? My personal opinion, and doesn't carry much weight in the, but I think we definitely have roots to the Americas. But I have other reasons for thinking that, which I don't think are appropriate in this. Thank you.
That was Ulu Albert. So he's teaching us about where traditionally, where we come from, scientifically, where they suspect we come from, our people, the skills of what makes us Samoan, and where Samoa is actually located. Hopefully there's something there that somebody learned. Is there anything there that you learned today with regard to that? Yeah. Anybody learn anything new? Yeah. Since we got started right away into that, I wanted to take a time right now to just kind of relax, because you can see what our format's going to be kind of like. So it's kind of speaking, lecturing kind of style, which can be kind of long and dull. So I want to kind of break this up with a little bit of conversation. So is there anybody that would like to volunteer to say what is it that they're looking to get from this class? Anybody? Anybody? Anybody?
I'm looking to foster a deeper connection with my roots, my culture.
Let's say that one more time.
Oh, sorry. I guess I'm just looking to foster a greater connection with my culture, heritage, just know more about the culture in all aspects of it.
Right on, right on. Anybody else? Can I get a volunteer to take the mic around?
Just getting a deeper understanding of our ancestral practices.
Why not?
Just getting closer to
some language. Learning some language, absolutely. So we'll definitely get into all of that and a little bit more. But like I said, we want to try to keep this kind of flow. We want to be flow. So if there's any question, anytime you have any question, don't be shy. Ask your question. Ask your question. So we're going to go ahead and move into modern history. So, well, what we just gave us was our traditional, kind of like our back prehistory, where we came from, and what I want to get into right now is kind of like post-European contact. So, our slide shows us that in 1830 is when we first got contact with the missionaries that came from Tahiti. They're actually from the London Missionary Service. Truthfully though, we started out a little bit before that. Our first contact was in 1722 when we had some trade ships that came through. Roggeveen, the Dutch explorer by the name of Roggeveen, came through in 1722, and he named us, he actually named our islands Bowman Islands after one of the captains on the fleet that he was sailing on, that he had with him. Later on, 1768 is when Bougainville, or Bougainville, depending on how you pronounce it, was a French navigator, and he's the one that they actually named us Navigator. So, and the story that I was told is that the reason why he called us navigators, the Navigator Island in that area, was when they came to the island, they saw a guy fishing in the local lagoon, and then when they left a few weeks later, they saw that same guy fishing like 120 miles, 200 miles away, so far away, so they figured that they called us Navigator because of that they saw this guy in his little pao, which is the one, like a little single-man canoe, way out in the middle of the ocean, hundreds of miles away from land, from the place where he started, where they first saw him. Later on with Peru's, in 1789, they came on shore. They actually came on to get water, and unfortunately for them, some of them were killed, and so they called us a Massacre Island. Massacre Island, and even to this day, in Tutuila, there is a bay called Massacre Bay, named after that incident. So this is what kind of happened before we actually come to 1830, which is when John Williams, the missionary, came to Sapali and met with Manuto. Question?
Sorry, could you repeat what that first year of contact was?
1722. 1722. It was with Dutch explorer Roggeveen. So in 1830 is when John Williams came in, and the king of Samoa at the time, Manuto is the one that welcomed him in. And the reason is, for some people, I think, for a lot of people, actually, the reason is because there was a, what do you call that when somebody makes a prediction for you?
Premonition? Prophecy.
Yeah, kind of like a premonition, but
Prophecy?
Prophecy. So it was a prophecy, and it was the war goddess Napanuma, and made the prophecy that his kingdom would come from heaven. So there's actually open the door please. There's actually a a saying that we have in Samoa, "Ka'ilangi Lama'o." So your kingdom will come from heaven. So when John Williams came over to South Bali in Hawaii, he wasn't there to greet him, but he heard that he was there. And when he heard about what John Williams was bringing, which was the good word, right? And heaven, the religion. That's when he figured that this was the prophecy. This was what was meant, that he should go, that this was what John Williams was bringing him, his kingdom. And that was how he was going to reach his kingdom, through what John Williams was bringing, which was happens is they start getting involved in Samoan politics. So after Malietoa Benko passed away, it went to Malietoa. Malietoa's title went to TSASD, which was his brother. Back in the day, traditionally, the title goes from, not from father to son, goes from brother to brother, or somebody in the same generation before it passes to the next generation. So this is the way that titles work, and especially the kingly titles. That's how it was back in the day. It's changed a little bit. And some people disagree to how that is, because it's not really a Samoan traditional passage of the title. Anyway, so 1850s comes around. Apia Harbor's got settlements. 1858, Manitou Tutasina passes away. So the title of Manitou is supposed to go to his brother, which he does, and that's Manitou Lee, but he passes in 1860. And from 1860, for about 20 years, there's constant battling between the brother, Manitou Lee, and the son, Manitou Lee, and Manitou Talabo, which is actually his uncle. So there was a lot of conflict going on. You could say that we ended up having a civil war, and the outside powers got involved. Once again, the businesses started bringing in the governments that they came from, the countries that they came from, Germany, Britain, and the US started getting involved in local affairs. And as a result, it got to the point where they actually brought down their big gunboats. Warships were actually sitting in the harbor, Apia Harbor. The world was getting ready to go to war over our little island. So that was in 1889. Luckily, in 1889, probably God was looking after us, because there was a huge cyclone that came in and sank 6 of those battleships, 6 of those warships right in the harbor. And as a result, they decided that they were going to do something about that, and they signed the Treaty of Berlin. Treaty of Berlin in 1889. So this was when Britain, Germany, and the U.S., what they decided is that they were going to hand off, they were going to provide a council and let Samoa govern ourselves, and then they would kick back and stay outside. but they would kind of still be in control of their business interests. They would be looking after their business people. Whereas the Samoans at that time would take care of we would take care of our own people. We would do our own government, self-government, so to speak. Unfortunately, we were having some issues. And we were still kind of fighting amongst ourselves, if you will, to the point where 1899, it got to the point where they were, once again, things were coming to a head. So it was 1899, they had a tripartite treaty, or the tripartite covenant, I think that's what it's called. So the tripartite covenant is that's when they split up Samoa. 1899. The U.S. went to Manua, to Tuila. They went there. Germany took over the West, Samoa to the west. And Britain left because they made arrangements in other countries, in other areas with the other countries. So Britain pulled out completely, Germany took over Samoa, and Germany took over Samoa to the west, and the U.S. took over Samoa to the east. Do you have a question? Okay. Well, so it was at that time that we had the Mau got established. So during that period, Samoa, at the time it was German Samoa, not Western Samoa, German Samoa. They named Samoa to the east. That was American Samoa. So German Samoa in 1908, there was a bit of a problem with so in 1908, there was a problem with the German government that was there in Samoa, and some local Samoans that were having issues establishing a Samoan coconut plantation. So back in the day, copra was a big deal. Copra comes from coconut, and there was a lot of it coming from Samoa. They used coconut oil. Coconut oils, they were using that in perfumes and all kinds of cosmetic things back in the day. And there was a lot of it coming from Samoa, and it was very valuable to us. So when the Germans came in back in 1899, they started establishing, well, even before then, they were establishing these big, huge coconut plantations. We had an issue in 1908. Ma'amoe basically started the Mau. They started the Mau movement. And so this was a movement that used peaceful protests. One of the first, before India, but I think there was another country that used it before us, but I'm not certain exactly who that is. But we were using peaceful protests. Unfortunately, that peace only lasted so long because he got exiled. So in 1909, they took him out completely, and they exiled him to, I think it was Saipan. So yeah, he was exiled to Saipan, and the Mau movement kind of tried to continue without him, but he was one of the victims of that. In the meantime, things were happening outside of Samoa. What's that?
What were you protesting?
Basically, he was protesting treatment because they weren't able to establish their, businesses. They were basically treated like second-class citizens in their own country. So.
That's where the term Samoa more Samoa comes from. He wanted Samoa to be run by the Samoans. He didn't want the Germans to run us. He wanted Samoa to be independent.
And that is where that's from. Samoa more Samoa. In the meantime, things are heating up outside of Samoa. And World War I, of course, at that time it was called the Great War. World War I broke out in 1914. 1914, Germany still was the government of Samoa, except New Zealand came in. Oh, sorry. New Zealand came in and they basically just moved in on Germany in 1914, even though they hadn't, the war didn't stop until 1919. That's when it actually stopped. So New Zealand came in on behalf of Great Britain, or Britain, and they took over, but they weren't that much better anyways. In fact, in a lot of ways, they were worse. So, in 1918, under New Zealand government administration, that's when we had the Spanish influenza. The Spanish flu came in. Spanish flu came in, wiped out 1 out of every 4 Samoans. 1 out of 4 Samoans, 25% of the Samoan population was died, basically, because of the Spanish flu. And the reason why it came in from a passenger ship coming from New Zealand. And the local government.
Just one more thing on that, just before you finish that. American Samoa didn't get the Spanish flu.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say it.
Okay, go for it.
So, Western Samoa, or German Samoa, or actually by this time I think that they were known as Western Samoa by that time. Anyways, they suffered. We suffered tremendously. Families, sometimes whole families were lost. My family, I know, my grandfather lost his first wife and one of their children. There were many stories of people that our families losing so many. Like I said, 1 out of 4 Samoans passed. But if you really think about that, it really hit us hard. Because he was trying to make sure that we direct our people and make sure that we were being peaceful. They actually pulled out a machine gun, and they were basically gunning people down with a machine gun from World War I. So there were some children that passed, mostly adults that passed, and as a result of this, it kind of brought our movement attention to what was going on in New Zealand. So the New Zealand government and the people of New Zealand started to hear about what was happening with our people in Samoa. And in 1935 is actually when a different government in New Zealand came in, and then they really started to change things in the way that Samoa was being treated, which eventually led to us getting our independence in 1962. So in 1962 is when we got our independence. We were the first island nation in the Pacific to get our independence from the colonial powers at the time. And to this day, this is where we're at. American Samoa had a different path, if you will. 1899, when they had that tripartite agreement. By the time in 1899 they had that. American Samoa had already had the Navy. The U.S. Navy was already in American Samoa because they had signed a treaty, a friendly treaty, to establish a naval coaling station in Pampanga, in the Pampanga Bay. So if anybody's ever been to Pampanga, you know it's got a wonderful bay, a wonderful harbor. It has high mountains on all the sides. It's a great place to be protected, especially back in those days. Nowadays it's too small for the big aircraft carriers that we have nowadays. But for the smaller boats, it's a great place to harbor in times of anytime there's big storms. There was actually a treaty that had been signed in I want to say 1867. It might be, I might have my date fixed up there. But that's how the U.S. Navy actually got into Tutuila, into American Samoa. They got there through that. So when 1899 tripartite, when they signed that covenant, obviously they want to stay in Pampanga. So that's why they got Tutuila and all the islands to the east, because they were already there. So they're going to make a big push to stay there. From there, in 1899 was the tripartite. 1900 was the cession of the deed of cession, which basically they signed with some of the chiefs at the time in American Samoa. That was in 1900. And that's when they officially basically became a Navy base. It was the naval station of Tutuila back in 1900. In 1904, the deed of cession for Manua was signed by the last king of Manua, where he famously said, "There will be no more kings after me, I'm the last one." So this was what happened in 1904.
What's the name of the last king?
I'm not certain what the name of the last king of Manua.
Tui Manua Elisara.
There you go. Tui Manua Elisara. Okay. So, this is not long. But anyway, so that was 1904. 1929, we get Tutuila, American Samoa gets recognized as a territory. And that's where we're at right now. Samoa is an independent nation, and American Samoa is a territory, is a unincorporated territory of the U.S. Is that it? Break? Oh, I guess we're going to take a break.
You can finish that slide and then you can take a break. So yeah, because that's the last slide.
Okay. So, where we're at right now, in American Samoa, they kind of they run very similar. Their government is very similar to the U.S. government in that they have two houses. They have a House of Representatives and they have a Senate. The House of Representatives, they have an election every 2 years. The Senate, they have an election every 4 years. They don't, they're not in power as long as the U.S. senators are. But so they every 4 years. Right now, they're getting ready to do their election just like we are out here. There's 20 House of Representatives plus one from Swains Island. There's a representative from Swains Island that doesn't get to vote. So there's actually 21 in the House of Rep, 18 in the Senate. And of course, our governor, they have a governor and a lieutenant governor that run also at the same time. The first elected governor, back in the days, they were appointed. So the U.S. would appoint actually the Navy, because if you remember, like I was saying, there was a naval station in Wheeler. So the Navy actually sent somebody, appointed somebody to run the government there. And the last guy that was appointed by the Navy in 1951, his name was Captain Thomas Darby. So Captain Thomas Darby, that's who I'm named after, was the last naval governor. After that, they were civilian appointed, and until we actually had an election. So the first elected Samoan governor was in 1978, and that was, anybody know what that was? Coleman. Peter Tali Coleman was the first Samoan governor of American Samoa. So that's what happened in American Samoa. In Samoa, we have a different type of system. We have a kind of a parliamentary, democratic parliamentary style, but there's only one house. In the terms of government, it's called a unicameral. So they only have one house. There's 50. There's actually 47 members of parliament, plus 2. So the 47 are from the villages, from all of the districts in Samoa, and then there's 2 that are of non-Samoan descent. So we have a total of 49. The majority rule, well, kind of like back in the day, they voted on who was going to be the prime minister, and obviously, if your party's in power, then you guys are going to vote your own guy. So, in the beginning, our first prime minister, after we got our independence, the first prime minister was the brother of Tupua Tamasese Lelofi III. His brother was our first prime minister, which was Tupua.
Yeah. First prime minister was Mata'afa Unibu'u.
Oh, no. Yeah. Mata'afa was
the first. The first, 1962.
1962. So, oh, I'm sorry. Tupua Tamasese was the head of state, co-head of state with, yeah. So the first head of state was co-head of state with Tamasese, along with Mamuto II. Anyways, back in the day, they did not have political parties. You just kind of ran on your own. Everybody was kind of independent. Back until the early 80s, which is when the HRPP formed their party. And the HRPP, once they formed their party, the Human Rights Protection Party, they basically took it and ran it. And they were in power from the 80s till 2021, which is when the FAST Party came in. They were finally able to establish a party that could defeat the HRPP. There's not really a tie between the ties and the parties themselves. You know, it's not like if you are from this village, then automatically you're a HRPP or Democrat or Republican. It's not like that. So there's no tie as far as that. However, you cannot be a member of parliament unless you are a Matai. So possibly, maybe with the non-Samoan seats, you might be able to do that, but every member of parliament is a Matai. Back in the day, yes. What's a Matai? So a Matai is a chief. So Matai Matai is a leader in the family. So, when I say leader of the family, depending on which family, the amount of your authority is dictated by which family on the top. So, Matai's, all villages are basically, in Samoa, we got decimated, basically 25%, lost 25% of the population. In American Samoa, they lost 0. And so if we actually ask, why is that? How did that happen? How come they got away with no losses? And the answer to that is because of the government that was in place, the naval officers that were in place. They had an embargo. They actually blocked any vessels from going in to Pampama to prevent the influenza from going in. And so his decision-making caused or saved American Samoa. Not only that, he had the resources to help out Samoa. And he had actually sent a message over to the New Zealand administration that he was prepared to help them. And the governor in charge at the time from New Zealand, he actually refused to, and he burned the message. So that is one of the reasons why, because of the way that he handled that. That's how come that got the second Mount Hogan started. So, sorry for forgetting that. In the meantime, we want to move on to our next and final section here. And I would like to introduce somebody that's very special in our local community that's been involved with our local community for many, many years. We're very proud to have him involved in our organization. And I'd like to read you his bio a little bit. A lot of you already know him by Samoa Korea. But I'd like to introduce him as Taituma. Always, I want to try to introduce him as Taituma so everybody gets an idea to not use his Taituma name, but to address him by his Matai title, which is Taituma. He's born and raised here in San Diego. Everybody knows him. Almost the last 20 years have been in Temecula. He's back now, and he's helping us here at the Samoan Culture in San Diego. He's married 34 years, which is a record for a lot of people. 34 years he's been married, has 5 children, lots of extended family. The member and Alcalde officer, choir director of the Palima Church. Everybody knows well, maybe you don't know the Palima Church, but the Palima, the church, we call it the Palima Church, which means 45. It's actually the Samoan Church is on 45th Street, which was the first Samoan church established in the continental United States. And it's still here now. So that's a real piece of pride for us, local San Diegans, to know that. So he's been a member of the officer, choir director here at Panima. The BA in urban, he has his bachelor's in urban studies and planning with a minor in general biology from the University of California, San Diego, TSASD, 1988. 1988, I don't know, see, I was getting my tattoo. Retired teacher, San Diego School District, San Diego Unified and Emmett Unified. He's been a keynote speaker at the Asian Pacific Student Union Conference and helped create the Asian American Studies at UCSD. That was in 1984. And he's the former president, actually the first president of FIFA. So he's our first president and founding one of the founding members of FIFA, as well as a musician, a writer, definitely a community activist, and a network marketer. Please, I give you Taituma.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, everyone. You can put your hands together like this. Great. Now, keep it there. Rub it. In Samoan Culture, we call it gili. When I say pop, say with the clap once. I say, go up, got 2 times. Go up. I'm going to try to cover this as quick as possible. Sometimes in the classroom, listen So next slide, please. Okay. Being born and raised here, I'm a Samoan first generation American. Okay. So that's kind of where my perspective is. So Samoans in San Diego, well, you know, obviously it's been said already, coming from Samoa. A lot of them were recruited to pizza guards, which is great because we have that warrior spirit, you know, in us. And then the made our way here, as was mentioned earlier, in 1951. The pizza guard was disbanded, and then obviously the Navy came to San Diego. Well, as Bobby mentioned, the first Samoan Congregational Christian Church in San Diego is actually the first Samoan Christian church of the United States that ever was done. So I just want to mention there's been a lot of firsts in San Diego for Samoans here. You know, being that first there, and they've had other ministers come from that area, spread, you know, the word of the Lord, you know, up and down the West Coast, here, California, Portland, you know, Washington State, all of those, and then we're starting to kind of spread eastward as well. Then there are a lot of churches here too. National City, number 17, National City church there. There's also other churches, Assembly of God, and those kinds of things that kind of spread and continue to spread the word, and make sure that God is central in our hearts. So that's kind of really, we got to kind of start from there. As far as us that were born here, this is not second generation Samoan Americans. I'm sure there's third, you know, somewhere. I don't know where, but they live somewhere in the United States, but there's that development as well. So, and then back in the day, I would say the first minister of the 405 Church, Reverend Sutona Mariani, was such an instrumental man at that time. That church became the community center for San Diego. He had connections in every part of the political arenas, you know, community, the police, those kinds of things. And so those are the kinds of things that I saw and kind of instilled in me, you know, kind of the community service, you know, that I have, you know, here in my heart. So thank him for that. And then, well, you know, obviously, NFL's a big deal. You know, we've got, you know, Junior Seahawks was playing in the Super Bowl against San Diego against San Francisco 49ers. They lost, but it's, yeah, and he was pretty instrumental as well as, and with other NFL players. I remember the first NFL player here in America was Mosi Tautupu, who played for the New England Patriots. So, you know, we have a lot of history to go back and next slide, please. Our influence in Polynesia, well, I think a lot of what's already been covered. I'm just going to kind of summarize it here, but we become a sacred center, you know, for not just our island, but the various islands, Tonga, Hawaii, Aotearoa, Tahiti. If you don't know, Aotearoa is the name for Maori, name for New Zealand, and amongst other islands as well. The Manila Empire is very vast. You know, going from, you can see the big, actually, Pacific Ocean is the biggest ocean in the world. Okay? And so we spread to the east, south, north, you know, far west, and you know, then we broke it up into various sections, like I was mentioned earlier, Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia. The Tuiamanua ruler was also a religious speaker. Okay? The trade and commerce, Samoa was one of the 9 great islands, as mentioned earlier. And also we were kind of the center of commerce and technology. When I think of commerce, I think of, let's see, you have tuna, and coconut, you know, those kinds of things that are kind of, you know, common, you know, amongst the islands that, you know, we traded back and forth. So, and then the political power, we have the ties, translated to English as chiefs, very well respected. Okay? And as mentioned on the slide here, the King of Hawaii had died. Pa'ao, the highest priest from Samoa, had brought Pili. And the high chief who became Hawaii's king from there is actually a descendant of Pili. Okay, so, next slide, please. Okay, our influence in the world. Greatly became independent, at least half of it. Okay? Remember, Samoa is still connected with the, here in the U.S. There was a long effort, as mentioned by the Mao, which was definitely a protesting type of movement that was peaceful. So that kind of I think of that, Martin Luther King, Muhammad Gandhi, you know, kind of all of that kind of encompasses, you know, that type of movement amongst our people. American Samoas Incorporated, as mentioned earlier, its benefit though is that we still have control of our lands. I just want to emphasize that. Okay? We still have our lands in there, so no one else is going to take it. Kind of like the TSASD or the local lines. So it's a better right to take it. So we want to keep our lands, because that's our control, that's our land. Don't mess with us, don't mess with you. Trade and commerce, a lot of different activities going on, and not only just the tuna and the coconut industry, cosmetics, as mentioned earlier. Obviously, we require the military. It's not just Navy, the Marines, Army, Air Force, all of that. You have to become that, you know, kind of, model for our people, you know, and good models come on over here. And the reason why my parents came here is that they wanted a better life. It's something they wanted more of. So they wanted, excuse me. They wanted their kids to have a better life too. Sorry, this is a lot. Political power, we participate now with large nations, but what's kind of interesting coming up next month is that Samoa is going to be hosting the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. First ever nation to ever host that in the city. So that'll give information that you're getting now, you know, during this time, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. Okay. This is a big deal. Based on what, everybody? What? Respect. Say it again. Respect. Again. Respect. And the Samoan word is fa'aloalo. They say fa'aloalo. That side, there are two types. There's Zabi and Tulafale. I'm not going to go any further more than that because we need another class for that. And then we have the young guys, Alabama and Manaya. So just kind of expose you to that, okay? Then on the lady side, Fabitua, which is the minister's wife, and then Tausi, okay? Which is Matai's wife, okay? And then we have the Awaluma, and then the Taupo. I think many of you have familiar with Taupo, so the Samoan princess has been kind of another common kind of things. But for down here at the bottom, a couple of just basic rules, because that's what this course is about. It's introductory, it's basic. Okay? Number one, you say too low and bow when walking in front of people. So if I were to walk across here, say, look. Look, look. Look. Everybody say too low? Low. Again? Low. All right. When addressing older or important people, what I've been taught, you sit down. You're not standing and you're talking to them. You know, that's disrespect. Yeah. The third thing is that you're offered to do chores and not be told to do that. Just go do it. Yeah. And I stood with this at my mom and dad's house. I come from the back door. Never go through the front. You come right through the back, and still, to this day, it still happens with you. So those are kind of the 4 different basic rules. Number 1, say too low. Say too low? No. Again? No. Addressing older people, make sure you sit down. Or the other word would be nofo. Say nofo. No. Okay? And then offering to help with any chores. There's a lot of different, the real big ones in Samoan culture are funerals, weddings, graduations, parties, birthday parties, those kind of things that are going on. And then enter and exit through the back of the house. Any questions so far? All right. Next slide, please. Okay, core values of our culture is encompassed by this statement right here. Attitude of authority is through service. You gotta serve. Even as leaders, you have to serve. Okay? We have that authority to, and that direction for us to be of service. Next slide, please. So a few rules of conduct is that on the very top, it does address respect by you're respectful to all whom you interact with. Okay? It's very central to our culture. And we conduct ourselves with our behaviors, our mind, okay, our heart, are all in there. Okay? The next one says, the leader is only as good as his followers. Amen or not? Amen? Amen. Okay. Whatever position you hold, you do your best. It will benefit the outcome of all as it will. Okay. Third one, I'm going to go there too often. Goes without saying, okay? We acknowledge God in all that we do. Okay? Amen or not? Amen. Touchdown! Next slide, please. All right, I think some of you have been waiting for this one. The basic Samoan phrases for this particular lesson for today. The vowels are just 5. In fact, the sounding of these vowels is kind of the same in Spanish too. Just read it in Spanish. So, A, E, O, U. Say A, E, O, U. Oh, I love that sound. So here are some basic terms to know. Obviously, you know talofa means hello. Okay? Sometimes, depending on who I'm talking to, but sometimes with unfamiliar people that I meet, or elders, when they say talofa to me, they say, yep, talofa no. Okay? It's kind of a more respectful response. So faço for the body. That's pretty straightforward. I'm hungry. I put you guys doing right now. Well, Sal, and I use this for my kids. Hey, check it. So come over here. Okay. So that's what I tell my older kids. Hey, okay. So I tell them to go. Mahalo is a really popular one too. It says here, congrats, what's up? It's more about, yeah, it is, congratulations, what's up? It's another response that's formal too, and very respectful as well, okay? And there probably should be a hyphen over the whole, okay? So do that in your notes. Yes, say yoy, again, say no, say veai, again. All right, then we have fia inu, say fia inu. That means you're thirsty, okay? Let's go for you, say, I won't go there. And then there's please means fa'amongole. Say fa'amongole. Thank you, one of my favorite words, paftai. Say paftai. Again. Say it 3 times. You got the idea, okay? And then Bala Almai, he's just a call to you, or you have to come on over, you know, kind of thing. Say Bala Almai, something like that, okay? So you say Bala Almai. Next slide, please. Want me to go ahead and just finish this one? Okay, all right. So, all of you that think I'm back, and there should be a level up in there. This is one of the obviously casual wears that we have. I have this with kind of a ear fight. Okay, so that's kind of more formal ear that the men wear. And then, you know, ladies like butasi, bubu, that kind of thing, but it's just a casual wear. And in fact, could I have each and every one of you take your ear out of that? Okay, right now. You got extra one? I just need an extra one. I'll do it back. I was trying to learn all this stuff, and Mom and Dad were pretty, ooh, this is too small. You gotta give me the extra large. So yeah, there's a lot of trial and error, you know, put it on, you go right around, and then what's really key about it is that you want to do the first one really tight, right here, okay? Bring the other one around, kind of knot it like this, and tuck it under here. Okay? That's one way. The other way to go American, put a gun there. You can do that. So you need to practice that for sure. During this week. And we'll probably test you guys later. Next slide, please. So, finally, okay, yes, I want you to wear at least 2 days at home. That's your homework. Read level 2 days. The words we just learned, practice those words. Okay, use them daily if you can. And then the basic rules, I remember there were 4 rules. Okay? I'll give you a quiz on that later, okay? So you need to practice those as well. So, next slide, please. Tough time. Tough time, okay?
Thank you very much, everybody. Before we go, we're going to ask our Vice President to come back up and dismiss us, as our treasurer. There's one thing, I have a pet peeve. I have a pet peeve and I want to share it with you. So my pet peeve is the word Samoa and the word Samoan. I hate it. And there's a reason why I say that. Because, you know, what I like to say is, you know, there's no such place as Samoa. There's only a place called Samoa. Samoans come from Samoa. Samoans, I don't know where Samoans come from, because there's no such place called Samoa. But there is a place that you see Samoa a lot, if we could get that up. And there's a reason why I bring this up. So there's a story, I don't know if anybody knows that there's a country called, or an island nation called Guam, right? But this is not their real name. Their real name is Guahan. Why are they called Guam now? Anybody know why?
They're U.S. territory.
They're right, that's right. They're a U.S. territory. But why are they called Guam? The reason why they're called Guam instead of Guahan is convenience. It was more convenient for the Navy to use Guam in their communications than Guahan. And the reason why I bring that up now is because you start off with Guam. You start off with letting that kind of stuff slide. Next thing you know, you're Guam instead of Guahan. Bowl of cookies. Next thing you know, everybody's calling you Samoa instead of Samoa. Make the effort to make the correction. Make the correction. When you hear somebody say Samoa, correct them. Samoa. You hear somebody say Samoan, correct them. Samoan. This is where we're from. And it's a matter of pride. And that's why we're having these classes. Because we're proud. You know, in a humble kind of way. In the meantime, Amula, you want to close this out? And do we have any questions? I'm sorry. I should ask if we have any questions or any statements that you'd like.
What is Amadu?
Amadu. So Amanu is really culture. The straight up is just culture. But the word, when you break it down, Nama and Nuku, so it's like Ama is like your the actions, Nu'u is the country or island, so it's kind of like the behavior, if you want to break it out like that, the behavior of a people, or that's how it translates to culture. Any other questions?
Okay, I think that was a lot of fun, right? That was our class for today. We'll be here, same spot next Saturday. You guys will be there. Right here, right? So thank you all for coming out. We have some surveys and evaluations, right?
Just quickly, I think our evaluation forms can come in, so if you can take a piece of paper from your notebook, whatever, just write a few sentences, paragraphs on what you thought about today, and then turn it into the table over there by 2.5 hour vice president. Raise your hand over there. Raise your hand. Just get in there. We'll appreciate any comments that you have. So, I don't know.
So as we started with the prayer, we're going to end up with prayer. I'm, by the way, didn't introduce myself earlier. I'm the treasurer of the Samoan Association. So all the donation that you guys donated today comes to me. Right? So we can have the same subway next week. All right. 3, you want to wrap it up? Well, you want. Where if I'm going to go, say again. Let's pray. Father, we are about to go home. About to go from this place, we ask you to guide us home safe. We ask for your blessing to be above us, now and forever. Amen. Amen. Thank you all for coming out. We'll see you guys next Saturday, same place, same time. Drive safe, and tomorrow is Sunday, it's all go to church. There's still some subways and stuff.
What do you think? Did you learn anything?
Here.
Yeah. I can't.